And now she's 10 o'clock, so let's get started. Hi, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Malin Bodola, and I'm responsible for marketing at Litium. And with me today, I have Rasmus Hellman, who is our sales manager here at Litium. This webinar is one in a series that we are doing to inspire and give tips and tricks about digital commerce to companies. And today we will talk about digital commerce in B2B specific. So companies selling to other companies or companies selling to consumers through resellers. So for the past 6 years, we have conducted a report about the development in digital commerce for B2B companies. It's called Nordic Digital Commerce in B2B 2022. The report has developed from being Swedish only to now include more countries like Norway and Denmark. And today it gives a good picture of how Nordic B2B companies work with digital commerce. So today we will give you a mix of results and insights from the report and some reflections from our side. So hopefully we will give you some inspiration and ideas on how you can accelerate your digital commerce in your company. But before we get started, just some practicalities. We will talk for about 20-25 minutes, and then we will have some time for questions in the end. So if you have any questions, please write them in the webinar panel under questions, and we will address them at the end of the webinar. And also a question that we usually get is if we will share the presentation, the recording, and the answer is yes. You will get an email tomorrow at the latest with the presentation. So you can watch it again if you missed something or share it with your colleagues. So let's get started. And we start by looking at the current state of Nordic digital commerce in B2B. What does it look like? So what we clearly see that over the years, digital commerce in B2B is accelerating steadily year over year. It is not a steep curve, but a steadily development. And in the report, 67% of the investigated companies state that they now sell digitally or enable digital sales. So what does that mean? So if you look at the diagram to the right, you see that it can be an e-commerce solution that is open for anyone, or it can be with a login. It can be an EDI integration, an external marketplace, or it could be that you only offer like an online quote with no actual buy button. And this is really important to understand that in B2B, digital commerce doesn't have to have a buy button that we are usually referring to when we talk about B2C e-commerce. So after 2 years of a pandemic, the whole world has gone more digital. You might wonder how B2B digital commerce has been affected. So in the report, 44% of the companies say that the COVID pandemic made the investment in digital sales accelerate even more. So very clear that Nordic B2B companies are accelerating their digital sales to better meet the increased demand for a good customer experience online that we as a consumer more and more have gotten used to. Today we expect really good self-service, for example, 24/7. And today we are doing more and more online, and we expect the experience to be as good when we're doing professional purchases when we are at work. So digital transformation has accelerated, but to be successful, it's very clear that you need a clear ownership to drive this in the companies. So in the survey, we asked, who is responsible for digital commerce in your company? And what has the results been here, Rasmus?
Thank you, Malin. From my experience, it's not very clear who's responsible for the e-commerce. It's for the most companies I meet, but usually it ends up on the IT manager or the marketing manager's table. However, this is often then something extra that is added to the daily tasks, and therefore it doesn't really get the attention needed. My opinion is that, for example, with the IT manager, it becomes too much focus on the technical aspects and not on the actual customer journey. Connecting this to the new expectation from B2B customers that this report shows, companies must have a strong understanding of the customer journey. I also see a big difference of the outcome of this investment depending on who's responsible for the project. If there are dedicated resource, the result of the investment is usually more successful. However, B2B companies ready to invest in a digital sales strategy also need to realize that this goes far beyond just implementing a new technical solution. It's an organizational change that affects all departments, and therefore they also need to align with this new strategy. Fortunately, we can now see a slight change from previous years with a dedicated e-commerce role. Why wouldn't these sales channels deserve at least one dedicated resource when it stands for, say, somewhere between 20 to 80% of the company's total revenue, compared to the average salesperson, which may sell for 20% of that? But Malin, we also saw that some industries or segment is actually ahead of some other. Can you tell more about this?
Yes. So very clearly across the whole report, we can just say that there are very few differences between the countries across the Nordics, but we do see that wholesalers are ahead as a whole. So 91% of the wholesalers in the report use digital channels for sales or sales enablement. And of those companies, 92% of those say that they expect continued online sales growth in the next coming 3 years. So that's really high numbers. And why is that? Well, I think that wholesalers might have been more competitive challenged, and also that the business model that they have is more similar to B2C. In general, a wholesaler have less complex products, so you don't need to have an advice when doing a purchase in the same way. You can maybe buy online with the help of a buying guide or great product information. So Rasmus, we talked about the current state. What about looking into the future? How does Nordic B2B companies see the future of digital commerce?
Yes, I think this data is really interesting. I thought this year's study would show a small stagnation in digital commerce within B2B due to the previous rapid acceleration during Corona and due to the stagnation of the B2B commerce. However, this shows that 73% actually believes in a continued growth for B2B in the next coming years. And furthermore, a quarter of the people in the study believes that there will be an increase over 25%. This increase doesn't necessarily mean that the companies will add 25% to the total revenue. It's probably a combination of that and converting existing sales. Looking into converting the existing revenue, a big benefit when much of the orders are automated is that the sales department now can focus on much more valuable tasks compared to just typing in manual orders in the ERP or answering basic questions regarding stock availability, etc. The increased revenue is usually an effect of a well-implemented e-commerce solution. You will most likely attract new customers to your site through better SEO, but also convert these new visitors to buying customers as a result of better product information, relevant content, and smart campaigns. Another way to increase the revenue is to find new markets, something Malin will tell you more about.
Yes, so really high expectations on growth. And one thing that we can see clearly regarding the future is that B2B companies are looking to expand their business to other markets. As much as 59% of the investigated companies say that they expect to sell through digital channels outside of their home markets in 3 years. And the digitalization of commerce has really made this so much more simple. You might not need to set up a new office in a new country anymore. You can basically add another country to your digital platform and go from there. And I'm not saying it's easy, not at all. But a lot of companies in the survey are mentioning the digital setup as a huge growth potential. And another example of growth possibilities is the D2C trend, where companies are going directly towards the end customers with their own digital channel. Some people are still a bit afraid for selling direct as they feel like they might compete with their resellers. But many companies that have set up their own direct channel report that it's been a win-win situation. By selling direct, they learn more about their customers, they build a stronger brand, of course, and this helps the resellers as well. So this can be a really good opportunity. So looking at the companies that has done the digitalization journey, what can we say about the driving forces? Why do they do it?
Yeah, so looking at the results in this study, the top driver of this investment is simplify administration and streamline sales. In other words, to make the organization more efficient. And looking at, for example, manufacturers, they can spend millions on new machines just to save some minutes or even seconds in the production line. Therefore, I'm not surprised this is the highest driver for an e-commerce investment due to the efficiency gains in the sales process. However, the second and third reason is to increase the overall customer satisfaction. And I think this reinforced the data from the study that customers today have completely new expectations on the digital sales channels. Also, a study made even before the pandemic found out that 70% of B2B customers could leave their existing suppliers in order to get a better buying experience. And why shouldn't they? Today, the competition is so tough, and it's usually pretty easy to find a substitute product from a new supplier which offer a better buying experience. So, if these are the drivers, what do the companies mention as the challenges, Malin?
Yes. So the number one challenge is how to translate the personal sales and relationships to digital. And this has been one of the top drivers for many years. And you can read the quotes here. But of course, a couple of years ago, we thought it was impossible to buy a car or a house online. Today, we buy really expensive, complex products online without hesitation. So maybe that is actually changing. But if your product is very complex and not suitable for selling online, maybe you can still sell parts of it online. For example, spare parts, reordering products, service and support that to that big complex investment that the company has done. And you can still give your customers information 24/7 online. Online advice, great product information, inspiration, and buying guides. Okay, so for the companies that have digitalized their commerce, what results do they see then?
I think it's really interesting to actually compare the result from the investment to the initial driver of the investment. The initial driver was to reduce administrative cost. However, the top result was to increase customer satisfaction. And reduced administrative cost landed on third place. One reason for this could be that B2B companies in the study doesn't know their customers well enough and therefore have difficulties identifying their needs. Another reason could be that customer doesn't inform the supplier of their needs, and therefore it's difficult to adapt to this. Unfortunately, the customer will probably leave the supplier instead of giving this feedback. Looking at the aspect Malin discussed earlier with entering new markets, it becomes critical to build your brand awareness. If you don't succeed with this, it will probably be difficult to attract new customers to your own channels. Building your brand awareness landed off the 5th place as a result from these kinds of investments. Speaking of measuring results of an investment, Malin, what does the people in the study think about measuring results from data?
Yes. So now we're going into a subject that I'm really passionate about, the data-driven organization. And as a CMO, I just love data. Data helps me and my team to understand what our customers think, how they act, and help me to make more accurate decisions when it comes to spending in different channels and efforts. So that's why I get a bit concerned when I heard that only 43% of the companies in the survey say they measure ROI, return on investment. 10% say they intend to measure, and 30% of the companies say that do sell through digital channels say we do not measure and we do not plan to do so either. And I think this is a huge opportunity or possibility for B2B companies in general to collect more data, to improve the customer understanding, and to set up a more tailored online offering, efficient processes, and in particular, a profitable digital business. And here we could talk a lot, but my message will be, how do you know if you're doing the right thing? what works and what to optimize if you do not measure. And I believe the future winners will be the companies that understand the customers best. Not saying that B2B customers are not understanding their customers. I think you're doing a great job. But data is a great source to get an even better understanding. So maybe we should just read this. If you continuously analyze data, you can obtain a deeper understanding of systems and, most importantly, customer behavior, a product owner as a wholesaler. So Rasmus, a popular subject to discuss is how B2B commerce will be more alike B2C. So what are your reflections on this?
I think this quote really says it all, that the expectations for digital commerce within B2B will be more similar to B2C. And every week I meet companies who do not offer a digital buying experience. And they actually believe that their customer wants to browse in a big physical catalog and then pick up the phone to call the salesperson. And if they answer, the order is placed. The digital buying experience within B2B has been lacking for so many years compared to B2C. And I wonder why this is still the case for so many businesses. As this study shows, the respondents believe that the biggest challenge is to translate personal sales or relations into digital channels. And I fully understand that the sales process within B2B often differs and is more complex compared to, for example, purchasing a t-shirt from H&M's website. But I believe many B2B companies underestimate their customers and how digital and mature they actually are. For example, for many families, buying a new car, as Malin mentioned, is the second biggest purchase they will ever do. And Volvo believes that 50% of their cars will be sold completely online in 2025. I think this really indicates how comfortable people actually are within the digital commerce. Another reason for most B2B companies to be so far behind could be their customer loyalty, as mentioned in this quote. However, looking at the study we looked at before, I think this customer loyalty will be less significant in the long term because it's so easy to find the substitute product today, and price is one big factor for most suppliers and especially customers. So I think we will see a big change or shift from the customer loyalty into price competition. And why should the customer settle for a less good buying experience just because they are purchasing with an organizational number instead of a personal social security number? So I think the future looks really bright for the B2B commerce, and I'm really eager to see what the changes will be in the near future. Thanks for listening. Now it's time for some questions.
Yes. So let's see if we have any questions. Yes, here is one question. Let's see how I can see it. Where do I start? Someone say, where do I start? I feel like we are way too far behind. Maybe that's a good question for you, Rasmus, to answer.
Yeah, hopefully. I think the most important part is to actually talk with your customers. Try to understand what they want and what they are looking for within the digital buying experience. Because I see every week companies that has invested a lot of money into an e-commerce solution, building features and functions that no customers really use. So start with the customers and take that knowledge into your next coming project and develop after those requirements, especially because in the end it's the customers that we do this for mostly. And as we saw, the top result was customer satisfaction. So try to focus on the customer's need and then develop a solution after that.
Good advice. And then it's another question here regarding how to choose the right platform. And of course, Litium is a platform, but how do you know?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go?
I'm gonna try to be objective.
Yes.
I also meet a lot of customers who have jumped into a simple solution for a few years ago, and it doesn't take long until they see that this solution doesn't really support our more complex sales structure. So I think it's very important to actually look at the needs, especially the needs internally, but also from your customers, and then look at platforms that are scalable, flexible, and that builds on different where you have the potential to change different functions over time. So for instance, if you find a PIM system within 2-3 years that you think is more suitable to your organization, that platform must support this integration between different systems. So scalability and flexibility is the two most valuable aspects when you choose a platform. And don't just jump into a simple one, because you will regret this decision within a few years.
Yeah, and take many meetings. I mean, meet with a lot of different vendors to be able to compare and really listen. I think that's a good.
And I think it's also important to mention that no vendor will expect that you know everything about e-commerce, because this is our area. So talk to a lot of vendors, as Malin said, but also maybe take external help with this to really find the most suitable platform, because this investment is hopefully something you do, and then you can scale on this platform for many years to come.
Yep. Another question we got is, where do I find the report? And I'm happy to answer that, of course, on our website, but also in the email that you will get after the webinar. And I just want to emphasize as well that on our website, we have a knowledge hub where you can find a lot of guides that it's not about Litium, it's about helping companies. It's how you work with PIM, product information management. It's a guide of how you go international. It's like well, all kind of how you plan for your building your own business case, for example, when you're going into this. So a lot of good material there. So please visit it, and also sign up for our newsletter, where we will post different things that and different material that we are creating to actually help companies out there to get more understanding of B2B commerce. And we got another question here about the organization. Do you have any insights to the best? What is your view regarding the B2B team in one central hub or in different departments? So you meaning, yeah.
I think I understand the question. And looking at the different, as mentioned earlier during this webinar, this new digital sales strategy is affecting all different departments within the company, and everyone needs to align with this new strategy. And therefore, we see, or I see when I'm meeting my customers, that many wants to put the, for instance, sales department within the e-commerce platform as well. So instead of the internal sales department are working within in the ERP, they want to put more and more people within the e-commerce platform, so everyone is working from the same platform. And then you can see a lot of synergies because you have all the product information in one place, you have all different campaigns, so you're always telling the customers the correct price and campaign structures. So usually you want to put as many people within the same platform in order to get those synergies.
But in general as well, we see different setups that works good for different companies. So again, I mean, half of our customer base is B2B. So really contact Rasmus and tell them about your case. And I'm sure you can connect them with the different customers as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so another question. regarding capabilities. Do you have insights as to the best way to build digital capabilities inside the current sales organization or recruit key functions externally?
Are we talking about human capital here?
I think it's connected to the organization question before.
Let's see, regarding
if you should hire people or if you should work with consultants or...
Okay. I think it completely depends on how much knowledge you have within the organization. If you never worked with digital commerce before and you always have used, offline methods as salesperson and human capital in order to promote your products and take orders, etc., I think it could be wise to take in external knowledge, and you can find that from different consultancy firms. There's many different actors helping companies with just these questions. So, and that is just because it could be good to have an external perspective on your organization, because if you have been working in your organization, it's difficult to have this, helicopter 360 view of the organization. So usually it's good to have external help.
Yes. Let's see, here is a long question. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. You mentioned that price would be more important than loyalty for B2B, if I heard right. Do you base that on B2C trends? Loyalty for me is value in the sales availability for the customer and having the right offer, even if the price is higher. What do you think? I agree with you there that there are many different aspects creating value between a supplier and a customers. What I meant was customers who do not offer a digital sales channel or experience for their customers who actually wants it. I think it will be difficult to keep those customers long term, because of course they want to have an easy purchasing process as well. Regarding price, now the competition is very, very tough, especially if you look at the different B2B marketplaces that are establishing all over Europe. And in a marketplace, price is usually one of the biggest factors. So I think price will be more important in the near future, because these long-term relationships you had with your supplier, who you may eat lunch with every month, I think people will look past that and try to get a good buying experience combined with price, availability, etc. as well.
Great. I don't think there is any more questions right now.
I think we had.
No, I think we already addressed that.
Okay.
Yep. So if you have any more questions, please write that. Otherwise, let's see where. There. So here is our contact details, and of course contact Rasmus. I mean, you're meeting so many different customers and companies every week, so really can connect you if you have a specific question or anything. That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And please follow us on LinkedIn and sign up for our newsletter. There you get a lot of inspiration and tips and tricks and things. And also give us input what kind of sessions you want in this webinar series, for example. What can help you accelerate your digital commerce? What kind of learnings do you want to have?
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for listening. She's 10:30 and it's time to actually go.
Yeah.
Yeah.